Okay, tonight is Matthew chapter 17.
And after 6 days, Jesus taketh Peter, James, and John his brother, and bringeth them up into a high mountain apart, and was transfigured before them, and his face did shine as the sun, and his raiment was white as the light. And behold, there appeared unto them Moses and Elias talking with him. Then answered Peter and said unto Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. If thou wilt, let us make here 3 tabernacles, one for thee, and one for Moses, and one for Elias.
What's happening here is what's known as the Transfiguration. Okay, and it was something where Jesus took 3 of his disciples up onto a mountain, as you can see, Peter, James, and John. Right? It says, and it was transfigured before them. Now, what does it mean to be transfigured? He appeared as maybe as more of a heavenly being. He got like real white looking, and he looked like somebody who was from God. You know, he was transfigured. You know, as opposed to looking however he normally would have looked as a man, he looked more like almost like a spirit at this moment. Right? So in seeing that, they were like, wow, you know, this is something different here. So they saw that now he was somebody special as the Son of God. Right? So he says his face did shine as the sun, his raiment was as white as the light. So yeah, you can picture him all of a sudden, he's like all white and glowing, you know, and so they could tell he was somebody special here. Right? And so that, as you're witnessing this, it says, behold, they saw Moses and Elias, who's Elijah, talking with him. And so the 3 of them are now on the mountain. And so you see what, you know, Peter jumps in and says, hey, this is really cool that we're here. We're seeing Jesus look like this. We're seeing him talking to Moses and Elijah. We should go ahead and build 3 tabernacles, one for each. A tabernacle is actually it was the tents that they used to worship in. Okay, at the time, you know, since like from back when Israel was going through the wilderness and so forth, you know, so they didn't necessarily have buildings, so they would kind of put things up on the spot. So they would put up a tent and they would worship in there. That was the tabernacle, right? So it was like a portable church, if you will. Okay, and so they're saying, Peter's saying, hey, we should build 3 of these, you know, one each, one for Jesus, one for Moses, one for Elijah, right? He's getting all excited here that, you know, we see three special people, so we need the 3 tabernacles to recognize them.
While he yet spake, behold, a bright cloud overshadowed them, and behold, a voice out of the cloud, which said, This is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear ye him. And when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face, and were sore afraid. And Jesus came and touched them, and said, Arise, and be not afraid. And when they had lifted up their eyes, they saw no man, save Jesus only. And as they came down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, saying, Tell the vision to no man, until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead.
The next thing that happens, as you can see, it says, while he yet spake, while Peter was speaking, it says, you know, bright cloud comes over, and they hear a voice out of the cloud saying, This is my beloved Son, whom I'm well pleased. Hear ye him. Okay, so obviously it's the voice of God they're hearing, and he would be talking about Jesus, all right, since we know Jesus was his son. Now let me ask a question. Why do you think the voice said that at that time? What was the purpose of that statement? In the previous verse, in verse 4, here's Peter saying, oh, we got 3 special guys here. You know, Jesus, Moses, and Elijah. Let's build them each a tabernacle. And God's like, no. This is my son, all right? This is my son. Hear him, all right? The little ones are just you know, aside, okay? I mean, yes, they were special, but this is my son here, okay? So hear him. So that's why the voice came even while Peter was still talking, right? So yes, it's okay to recognize that others are special, but nobody goes above or even the same level as Jesus, all right? Because that's my son, right? So that's why now 6 says when the disciples heard it, they fell on their face, they were afraid, right? And Jesus said, don't be afraid. But now in 8, now when they look, the others are gone. That's what bears out. See what bears out the statement and what it means, right? Because that was really the purpose. Say, this is my son. So hear him. Okay. So when they heard that voice, and then first they were afraid, and when they looked, the others were gone, and Jesus was the only one left. Okay. So that was really the purpose of that, to recognize that this is the Son of God, not just a special man or one of the prophets. This is the Son of God. Okay? And now in 9, you see when it was over, Jesus tells them, probably you shouldn't go around telling people that you saw me turn into something else, because they'll think you're nuts, okay, or they'll be looking to kill you for blasphemy or something, all right? So probably you should keep that to yourself until afterward. He says, until the Son of Man be risen again from the dead. So once they see him crucified and resurrected, then feel free to say the things that you saw. But for now, it probably wouldn't be too profitable to go telling people that this is what you saw here today.
And his disciples asked him, saying, Why then say the scribes that Elias must first come? And Jesus answered and said unto them, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But I say unto you that Elias is come already, and they knew him not, but have done unto him whatsoever they listed. Likewise shall also the Son of Man suffer of them. Then the disciples understood that he spake unto them of John the Baptist.
See, after witnessing this now, and seeing that Moses and Elijah were the other two that were there, so now I guess as they're walking down the mountain, so the disciples are asking them, saying, "Well, wait a minute though, why did the scribes say that Elijah had to come first?" Okay, and so in other words, why were they mentioning him along with you if it was like now a meaningless thing, or if you're saying he's not, that was just a prophet from the past? Why did they mention him when they said that you would be coming, right? And so it's now, so Jesus answered. He said, Elias truly shall first come and restore all things. But then he says Elias has come already, and they didn't know who he was. Now it can be a little confusing. You say, wait a minute, why is he talking about Elias or Elijah and saying, but he's really talking about John the Baptist? I mean, it can be a little confusing. But let's just turn for a minute to Luke chapter 1, verse 17. In Luke chapter 1, it's talking about, it's the story of John the Baptist, right, when he was born and what his purpose was and so forth. And in verse 17 it says, and he is talking about John the Baptist, shall go before him, before Jesus, in the spirit and power of Elias, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. See, so it said that John the Baptist would come with the how's it worded, with the spirit and power of Elias. So that's why they referred to him as, this was like Elias coming all over again, right? Because he carried the same spirit and the same power. So here, going back to the chapter where we are, in verses 10 to 13, where it's talking about that the scribes saying that Elias must first come, they were confusing it because the prophecy that John the Baptist would first come as the forerunner of Christ, not the actual Elijah from the Old Testament was going to come back to be the forerunner of Christ, but rather John the Baptist was in the spirit and power of Elijah. So that's why then it concludes in 13, says, finally the disciples understood that he was speaking of John the Baptist when he was quoting this other prophecy.
And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man, kneeling down to him, and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic, and sore vexed, for oft times he falleth into the fire, and oft into the water. And I brought him to thy disciples, and they could not cure him. Then Jesus answered and said, O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him hither to me. And Jesus rebuked the devil, and he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour.
All right, so now you have a man who has a need here, all right, for his son. And he's saying his son is possessed. All right, his son has a devil or a demon in him. Right, it's causing the behavior that he's describing here. So he says, 15. He says, "Lord, have mercy on my son. He's lunatic and sore vexed. He falls into the fire. He falls in the water. All right, he can't control himself because he's possessed. All right, and so I brought him to your disciples." And said, can you cure my son? And I guess they prayed or they did whatever they could, and didn't do any good. Right? That's why he said, I brought him to my two disciples, and they couldn't cure him. So verse Jesus is addressing his disciples, saying, "O faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you?" and so forth. In other words, you're doing it wrong, right? That you didn't. If you had the right kind of faith, if you did it right, the devil would have been cast out because you have the ability to do that. I gave it to you, right? In previous chapters, he gave them the authority to cast out devils, to heal the sick, and so forth. right? So you could have done this, so obviously your faith isn't where it needs to be yet, right? But for now, he's going to take care of this situation. So in 18, he says, he rebuked the devil, he departed out of him, and the child was cured from that very hour. Okay, so first he tells the disciples, you're going to have to grow your faith so you can really do these things. But for now, let's go ahead and cure this child. So he said the words, and the demon departed, and he was cured at that very moment.
Then came the disciples to Jesus apart and said, Why could not we cast him out? And Jesus said unto them, Because of your unbelief. For verily I say unto you, if ye have faith as a grain of mustard seed, ye shall say unto this mountain, Remove hence to yonder place, and it shall remove, and nothing shall be impossible unto you. Howbeit this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting.
After this episode is over, and Jesus has healed the child, and the father and then him, they leave, right? And now the disciples, again, they're wondering, well, basically we just got yelled at because we didn't do it right? So what did we do wrong? All right, that's what's really saying. 19, it says, why couldn't we do it? Why couldn't we cast him out? We thought we were doing it right, and yet nothing happened, right? So Jesus gives them a two-part answer, right? In 20, it says, because of your unbelief, right? But then say that if you have even faith like a grain of mustard seed, you can do anything. As we've heard the example used lots of times, to say onto the mountain, move from here to here, and it could move if you have that kind of faith. So if you had the faith, you could have done this, right? So that's number one. But the second part, right, is in verse 21. He says, however, some things require prayer and fasting. Okay, and this is one of the episodes that we use when we say we're going to have fasting and prayer, right? Is to say that the prayer works and we have faith and you can pray and things happen, but sometimes it requires prayer and fasting for some things, right? And that's what he's saying. This one would have required prayer and fasting, so that if you were prepared in that way, then you would have been able to perform this miracle, right? Now, I mean, granted, if you put yourself in the story, I mean, if the man just showed up, I mean, it's too late to be fasting. You got to react on the spot, all right? But at the same time, he's just saying that there are some things where fasting and prayer is more effective than prayer, right? And that's why we do it, right? We don't do it just to, because it's something to do, right? Or a different kind of a meeting we can have. I mean, we do fasting and prayer because it teaches us some things require that. So that's why we do that, and we recognize that there's a value to fasting and prayer, and that we can see perhaps our prayers answered more readily, be closer to God, that we show God that we're serious about it, that we're showing our faith, right? All these different reasons, right? And so, but this is always the one that we quote, though. I mean, the same story is told in a couple of the Gospels, but it says some things require fasting and prayer, and this would have been one of those.
And while they abode in Galilee, Jesus said unto them, The Son of Man shall be betrayed into the hands of men, and they shall kill him, and the third day he shall be raised again. And they were exceeding sorry.
While they're kind of hanging out in Galilee now, Jesus is telling them again about what's going to happen to him. All right, and he just mentioned in the previous chapter, if you remember, chapter 16, he had told them something similar, right? But here he's kind of enlarging on that. It says, "The Son of Man shall be betrayed into the hands of men." Right, and we know the story that he's betrayed by one of his own, right? In fact, by one of the ones he's talking to, right? Because he's talking to the 12, and one of them is going to betray him, right? So he's telling them that, and then he says that those who take him, he says that shall kill him, and the third day shall be raised again. And then it's just a comment, and they were exceeding sorry. They were not happy to hear this, all right? And so again, not that you should expect them to be happy, or he would expect them to be happy, but if you remember the previous chapter, when he said that same story, Peter said to him, "Well, oh no, there's no way we're going to let that happen to you." And Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan!" Right? Because you're not thinking the right way here, right? You got to understand what my mission is and what I came for. I came to be crucified so I could die for the sins of the world, be resurrected. I mean, that was my purpose. So saying you're going to prevent that from happening is not right? You're playing right into the enemy's hands, because God sent me for that exact purpose.
And when they were come to Capernaum, they that received tribute money came to Peter and said, Doth not your master pay tribute? He saith, Yes. And when he was come into the house, Jesus prevented him, saying, What thinkest thou, Simon? Of whom do the kings of the earth take custom or tribute? Of their own children, or of strangers? Peter saith unto him, Of strangers. Jesus saith unto him, Then are the children free. Notwithstanding, lest we should offend them, go thou to the sea, and cast the hook, and take up the fish that first cometh up, and when thou hast opened his mouth, thou shalt find a piece of money. That take, and give unto them for me and thee.
In 24, it says, when they were come to Capernaum, right, someone came after them, someone to collect what they call tribute money. Now, what the tribute money was once a year, they would go around and collect from everybody to help pay like the expenses of the temple, right, to maintain the temple or whatever was required, right. So it was an annual thing. It was half a shekel per person for the support of the temple. Okay, so that was the tribute money in this case, right. So here it says that the ones responsible for collecting that came to Peter and said, "Hey, does Jesus, your master, does he pay tribute, or is he like above this? Everybody's supposed to contribute to this, and so it's why don't we have anything from Jesus, all right?" And so Peter just says, "Oh yeah, no, he pays it." And he says, but when he goes into the house and is talking to Jesus about it, Jesus says, "Well, let's talk about this for a minute." And he asks the question. He says, "When the kings of the earth collect, custom or tribute for themselves to help support themselves in their palace, who do they ask? Does the king ask his own children, or does he ask strangers, right? In other words, the people of the kingdom." And so you see Peter says, well, strangers, of course. I mean, why would the king charge his own children, tributes? Doesn't make any sense. So that's why then Jesus says, oh, so that, in other words, the children are free then, that they don't have to pay the tribute. Well, whose house is the temple? The temple's house is supposed to be God's house. And who am I? I'm the Son of God, right? So therefore, really, if you look at it that way, I should have to pay tribute to take care of the temple, right? Because I'm the son of the king, right? And that's the king's house, and I'm the son of the king, so really I shouldn't have to pay the tribute if you want to look at it that way. Again, just trying to get them to understand who he was, right? Again, he's not just a citizen of the town, he's the Son of God. So he's saying that really, by that reasoning, I really shouldn't even have to pay. But, as you see in 27, notwithstanding, which means but, lest we should offend them, all right, because we're not necessarily looking to make trouble over money here. So now he tells them to go down to a certain, to the sea, cast a hook, catch a fish, and look in the fish's mouth, and you're going to find enough money to pay the tribute for me and you, right? Which of course is what he did, all right. And I pointed out that it was half a shekel was the amount. So what was found in the fish's mouth was one shekel, right? It was one coin that was worth 1 shekel, enough to pay the tribute for 2 people, for Jesus and for Peter. So that's why he said, go fishing, catch a fish. The fish is going to have the coin in his mouth, and we're going to use that to pay our tribute. This way we don't offend them, all right? But yet, of course, Jesus himself is not, this is not money out of him being a carpenter. This is God creating the money, all right? And basically, it was in the fish's mouth, and they were able to use that to pay the tribute. So it was a miracle as well, but still trying to teach them that I'm the Son of God. So just remember that when you can apply one set of rules, it does make a difference that I'm the Son of God. Especially talking about the temple, it's supposed to be God's house. But he did the miracle here with the fish, and the fish had the coin to pay the whole tribute.